I chose a name for Krishna Prasad that is a name that unites him with one of his flutes. I found a verse which explains one of the effects of Krishna's flute. Would be the beautiful verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The forest was filled with trees full of flowers and fruits. There were lakes and rivers upon the hills, with the soft cooing of the birds and the buzzing of the bees, gathering nectar. In the company of Krishna and Balaram, the master of the spring, they entered into this forest, and all of them, they were herding the cows, and Krishna started to vibrate his flute. Purport. As Krishna Madhupati, the master of spring, entered into the forest with its hills, mountains, and flowering bushes, he started the sound of his flute, in tune with the sound of the buzzing bees and the birds. The word Madhupati signifies the Lord of Spring. Madhu is the month of spring. We can deduce that when Krishna, the personification of spring, entered into the forest in autumn, in fall, it covered in spring flowers. Krishna accompanied Balaram and the young cowherd boys to herd their cows, but it is not mentioned here that he was playing the flute. Only Krishna was playing flute. Then, the Venugita, the sound of the flute, came from the sound of Krishna's flute.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Vedanta Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The forest in Braj is full of feelings. It's filled with feelings. Because Radha and Krishna, when they wander in this forest, when Krishna is with his friends or Radha is with our friends, they think about one and the other. And then these feelings, they are imbued into the forest, naturally based. Although the month of fall was manifested, it's not like in the material world. The month of fall is a feeling in Braj. In the same way as the flowers are falling down from the trees. When the lovers meet, Radha and Krishna, then their own dress goes away from their body so that their radiance can dress one and the other. So, the nature of fall is a very poetic and deep nature in Braj. That is why when Krishna sees this season, then the desire to be with Radharani appears in his heart. And naturally, this desire is spring. At that time, the forest changes its mood and manifests all the attributes of spring, like the flowers that manifest, the birds that start singing in a certain way, etc., etc. And so naturally, in this moment of total blossoming, where Krishna, all the lotuses that are forming his form, start to blossom, the fragrance itself of his own body starts to intoxicate him. Why? Because scents of flower manifest the feeling of his heart. In this moment, the own fragrance of Krishna intoxicates him with the presence of Radharani. And then he takes his flute and he starts to sing his love for his beloved. But the song of Krishna's flute is not an ordinary flute, an ordinary song, because although Krishna forgets his personality, he is the Supreme Lord, from which everything emanates from him. Everything exists by him and for him. So let us imagine when his love crosses the form of the sound of the flute, all the living entities, as the sound goes across all living entities, the sound cannot be understood by the little soul. By a little soul, it is not possible. So in this, however, in the next verse, it is explained when the young girls of Braj heard the sound of Krishna's flute, they were captivated by loving feelings, passionate. Passion manifested in them. Certain of them started to describe in private the qualities of Krishna to their intimate friends, because when Krishna's flute entered into their ears, automatically Krishna appeared in their hearts. And they were able to directly describe the beauty of Krishna. So this is our true life. We have forgotten all of this, or we are insensitive to the love that Krishna has for us. But when we study the Bhagavatam, we enter in contact with something that can stimulate our love. In this world, a young girl wants a young man wants a young girl. But actually this illusory feeling, it prevents us from tasting the true nature of our attraction. And this is the witch Maya Dakshina Prakriti. Although it is the energy of Krishna, Krishna manifested it, because the living entities, they want to be independent from him. So he created this system so that the living entities can forget him, and they forget him through this attraction. That is why when this attraction goes away, we can fix our thoughts on Krishna and desire to develop something different. But it is very rare. The living entities are imprisoned in this feeling. And that is why they suffer, because this feeling makes us suffer. It does not liberate us from suffering. We only suffer more and more. The more we desire this connection, the more we suffer. And when we have it, since we will not be satisfied, we suffer even more. There's no limit. However, when we listen, when we hear how the gopis love Krishna and how Krishna loves the gopis, especially Radharani, then we become liberated from this illusion. And at that time, through the hearing of the Bhagavatam and the chanting, and the feelings of gopis enter into our hearts directly. And we can have an experience of their love. And at that point, it is finished. We realize that what we were looking for is a perversion of the eternal reality, and then we become liberated from the sexual attraction, not before. That is why we must have a meditation when we chant. It is very important, really important, because if we taste the love of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, we become completely intoxicated and happy. It is so wonderful, because there's only them, the gopis, that can taste Krishna fully. because they are in a desire, a conjugal desire. They have the most intimate relationship with Krishna, and Krishna gives himself in the most intimate way with the gopis of Braj. So, unless such feelings come to inhabit our hearts, material feelings cannot go away. It is impossible. It will always come back to pick us up. That is why, unless we have this kind of meditation, we cannot have love. It's not possible. That means we're dressed as a devotee, but we're not a devotee yet. That's what we call Kanishta Bhakta. We feel, but within, this joy is not present. This love is not present. We must progress. And actually, when the spiritual master gives the initiation, it is just like the means to enter into this reality. We'll read a little bit of the purport. The ladies of Braj, they heard the sound of Krishna's flute. It was filled with his powerful love for them. The sound of the flute manifested as a song, because he seemed to be chanting. They seemed to be chanting on their own with a special fragrance in the contact of Krishna's lips. It's so wonderful. Actually, the position of Krishna's flute is the position of a messenger. It is a position that is truly special, because Krishna has different kinds of messengers. And the flute, when Krishna touches his lips upon the flute, even in Krishna's lips, all of the feelings he has for his beloved are present. That is why, as soon as he touches the flute becomes filled with Krishna's feelings, and these feelings come out in the form of a sound, even before Krishna starts to blow in the flute. Can you believe it? It is so wonderful, because all of the form of the Lord is full of feelings. And his smile is extremely captivating. When he smiles, all living entities become completely happy, captivated. They can see a beauty when Krishna is satisfied with them. They can see that beauty enter within them, and they become the recipients of Krishna's beauty. It's so wonderful. But sometimes Krishna has feelings of separation. As soon as he is separated from Radharani, he suffers. It is a principle. He always thinks about Radharani, always. There's not one moment where Krishna doesn't think about her. And there's not one moment where Radharani doesn't think about Krishna. And so, this love can take the current of meeting and the current of separation. And even sometimes when they are together, their love is so strong that they come to manifest a form of separation, because they anticipate always to taste each other more, evermore. It is possible when there's an infinite ocean of love. It is not possible at all. So the living entities in this world, they try to imitate Radha and Krishna. It is very small, but they're trying to. Because when we try to take the position of someone, it's not clean. It becomes dirty. That is why the union, the Vaishnava union in between a man and a woman, is the search of Krishna, the search of this love. How to become qualified together, to taste such feelings. This is Vaishnava marriage. It's super elevated. Unless it is at that level, we become conditioned, and again, we become stuck in matter. And Bhagavatam says it becomes like a powerful hole. We cannot come out of it. It's impossible. As soon as attachment for the men and women comes, then it's like a prison, because we become imprisoned by the identification with the body. That is why Narottam says that it is a bottomless pit. It's impossible to come out of it simply by the grace of the Guru. It is like considered like a rope that comes down into the well. At that moment, the living entity must take that rope, and it is simply Krishna that can't pull it up. So why? That is why divine marriage, it is a marriage with a very high consciousness. That means that we unite to attain perfection. There's no higher beauty. That is why when Krishna speaks, even about sex life of his devotees, he says that it represents me. Why? Because they beget children so that a pure devotee can descend in this world in order to help living entities. Nothing is done without consciousness of Krishna. Everything is perfect. Everything is so high. But unless we are on this platform, then we cannot progress anymore. It can become a great trap. That is why we must put Krishna in the center of our life. It's very important. Actually, the Vaishnavas, they see everything from the same eye. Because in the eternal reality, there is simply a form of love which is directed simply towards Radha and Krishna. And this is Braj. In Braj, the living entities are married, they have children, they have animals, they have houses, but everything is for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna. So, it is super important to study with depth, because knowledge, which is given by our acharyas, when it descends within ourselves, it will change our way of thinking, our way of acting, our way of using each thing. And at one point, then Krishna will hit on our door, knock at our door, at the door of our hearts. And it is something that is extremely surprising, because when, through the chanting of the holy name in our service, no matter our situation, when we speak about service, it can be any service. But when we act for Him and we sacrifice ourselves for Him, it is a sacrifice because it's not easy. It's very hard to go against civilization. Everyone simply wants pleasure and illusion. And when you accept Krishna in your life, you reject the illusion and sense gratification. And at that moment, it is such a sacrifice. It is extremely hard, because everything outside reminds you of something else. It's really hard. And especially, since billions of existence, we go against the current. So our conditioning does not even allow us to go in this direction, that because of a sukriti that we have, because of pious activities we have forgotten, we take this direction. We are put in that direction without even knowing why. It is to that level. And so, of course, it starts with this first thing. It is the appearance of a form of faith. We don't even know why we accept a faith. And naturally, this faith will bring us to association with devotees. Because in the devotees, in the association of devotees, we hear the glories of Krishna. And the glories of Krishna, they give Krishna. They destroy all sorrow, all material desires, all sins. all faults. This is what the Acharyas explain. It is the most powerful thing. That is why Srila Prabhupada wanted that there's a class every morning and the devotees hear the class. Hearing the glories of Krishna, it's the most powerful thing. He says, so this is explained in the story with Trinavarta in the 10th canto, because Parikshit Maharaj, he loved hearing childhood pastimes of Krishna. And so Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Sanatan Goswami explained that even the pastimes where we hear the glories of the avatars are not powerful enough. They're not powerful enough. But the Krishna Katha, the glories of Krishna, of his childhood, they're even more powerful than the glories of the Lord Narayan, Nishingadev, Ram. Why? Because the sweetness of the Lord has the power to attract us completely and destroy all inauspiciousness within ourselves. It's very powerful. It's really, really powerful. Because in these pastimes, there is opulence that is there still. A certain opulence, for example, when Trinavarta, he wanted to capture Mother Yashoda and Krishna. He wanted to capture both. He wanted to kill both. Not simply Krishna. He wanted to kill Yashoda also. It is the reason why Krishna made himself so heavy. And Yashoda had to put him on the ground, put him there on the floor. Because a form of opulence came into Krishna, because he is omniscient. He could understand the thought of Trinavarta. Trinavarta was about to come, and he wanted to kill his mother and him by putting them in from the sky and throwing them out from the sky so that they become trampled. So no pity, this is a demon. So he made himself heavier than the heaviest. This is one of the powers that the Lord has. He can make himself the lightest or the heaviest of the heaviest. He made himself so heavy that Maria Yashoda, she decided to put her son, because he could not keep him. It was strange. He was a small baby. He was very small. He only had a few days. And then at the same time, Krishna said, I will enjoy. Because Mother Yashoda, when she puts me in the air, because sometimes Yashoda, she throws Krishna in the air to catch him again, and the kids love that. If you take a kid, you throw him in the air, and he laughs, he doesn't stop laughing. Krishna loves that. It is also one of the reasons why he comes as a child, because when he is bigger, Mother Yashoda cannot throw him in the air. And so Yashoda, when she takes him, she embraces him on the neck, and Krishna loves. She kisses him on the belly, and Krishna loves. She doesn't stop kissing Krishna. It's like a river of love. And each place of the body of Krishna has a particular taste, a particular fragrance, particular special qualities. Once you start tasting, you cannot stop. It's like time stopped, so that you can taste an infinite beauty and sweetness. It's like a big sweet, Krishna. So Krishna, he said, my mother has the power to pull me up in the air, but not so high. I desire to go higher. And that's one of the reasons why Trinavarta also came. So when Krishna was struck by Trinavarta, he went very high, very high, very high. Like that. Krishna was happy. And at one point he said, I have to kill this demon now. So he became very heavy, very heavy. And when Trinavarta, he tried to get out of Krishna, but he couldn't. Because a small child, and that he was an enormous demon, that he didn't have the strength to make himself out of Krishna. So he fell with Krishna. He exploded, and Krishna had nothing. He was playing. This is the sweetness and the opulence that are mixing. So, Parikshit, he loved to hear the glories of Krishna. And that is why the more we will purify ourselves, the more we get closer to our reality, the more there will be an extraordinary taste when we hear. And also it is very interesting. For example, Srila Prabhupada explains that when we worship Krishna and Balaram, we purify this desire of material friendship. When we worship Radha and Krishna, we purify this desire of wanting to be in love materially. When we worship Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, and Gopal, we purify our desire to have a family. Everything becomes replaced because illusion is not our place. It's not our place, the illusion. Our place is Krishna's world. So as long as we don't understand this, we come back. If you don't understand, if you don't take the decision, you'll have to come back in your next life. It's like that. If you don't accept your reality, you will come back. You have no choice. Because it must come from you. Prabhupada explained, if you do one step towards Krishna, Krishna does 10. It starts with you. That's why spiritual advancement, although Krishna does everything, it must come from him, from us. And it's very important. Because in our spiritual life, we have phases of evolution where we're enthusiastic, and then we encounter opposition within ourselves, through others, through our limits. And sometimes it is so powerful that we stop. And people can stop even a whole life. So, this limit must be surpassed. So Krishna makes an arrangement so that we take birth in a more favorable situation. We go back to the same level, but in an environment that is completely different, with completely different parents. And automatically, we will be nourished differently, and we will be able to obtain a finer intelligence, a deeper desire, and surpass our limits. But sometimes, with a body and a conditioning, we are not able to make it. That is why, when we hear Krishna's glories, we realize our limit. It comes to touch us. So certain don't appreciate because they're attached to staying life after life in this material world. When you speak to them about this, it doesn't please them because they have the impression that we are showing them with our fingers. Oh, Gurudev, you always tell me the same thing. This is the proof that we don't want to advance. We're blocked because we think it is a punishment. This is the proof. Because we feel like someone accused, attacked. But the one who has a deep desire to progress, he will love because it will allow him or her to go further, to surpass. It's like a mercy that is given. It's really important, but we're all at different levels and we feel it within ourselves because when we hear the glories of Krishna and this truth on the development of devotional service, we all have a different reaction within us according to our spiritual progress. If you're stopped in this life and you have decided to not go further, then when you hear the sadhus, it hurts you. You feel judged. This, how to say, a proof that we are blocked. But when we hear, and it gives us the possibility to have more strength and go further, that means that in this life we can make it. This situation that we have, this is not ours. Let us take the example of someone who has a feminine body, for example. What tells us that in the spiritual world we don't have a masculine body? So this illusion of wanting to be attracted by a masculine body, it's against the nature of a reality. You understand? That is why when we progress spiritually, through meditation, through this desire, Krishna will give us indications on our reality. And at that moment, we will change our reaction gradually. And it is this change. It can come through also all kinds of levels. That is why there are even associates of the Lord that had masculine bodies and that were young gopis in the transcendental world, that were also married, for example. There are no limits. The only thing is that when our feeling changes, we're not interested by the stories of this world. It is the only difference. Although the associates of Mahaprabhu, they were family leaders, they were also absorbed in their eternal feeling. And of course, they're extraordinarily elevated beings, because when they do activities in this world, everything is guided by the Supreme Lord. It is never out of material desires, out of the material energy or the spiritual energy. Otherwise, how they will be able to have children? You understand? So it is something that is difficult to understand. But not for a devotee of the Lord, because he understands also that this reality manifests this continuity of this disciplic succession, continues through, naturally, this union, this divine union. Because how the Vaishnavas would appear. For example, Srila Prabhupada, he explained that in the modern movement, after the third generation, that means when the devotees of the devotees will get married and make children, and the devotees of devotees will make children of devotees of devotees of devotees will make children, pure devotees will start to appear. Can you believe it? Why? Because there's a purification in the lineage, and when this lineage becomes pure, children are descending. Imagine an army of pure devotees. That is why everything is already programmed. Actually, sometimes devotees, they say, but myself, I don't understand. There's just 10 of us. We sell books. Nothing's happening. But actually, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, we need 100 years to understand the effects of a book, because people touch it and then they receive Krishna. In their next life they become devotees, but not in this life. Those who become devotees is because they already touched Bhakti in their previous life, and those who in this life touch a book, just touching the book, just read one word, in the next life they become devotees. That's why everything that you do, distributing prasadam, distributing books, chanting the holy name in the street, they receive Krishna whether they want it or not, and in the next life they become devotees. So the world is starting to get purified, but we cannot see the effect. So the prediction that Krishna himself said that he would appear 5,000 years later as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that 500 years after his disappearance, the disappearance of Gauranga, the golden age would start in the age of Kali. This is a reality. The proof. How could we be devotees in such a situation? Everyone wants sense gratification, sense pleasure. just gratifying our senses, having children and go to work. This is the only desire of the living entities. To live, to work, and work to live. Nobody else wants anything else. How is it possible that in this situation we want to become devotees? It's because there's a special mercy that we don't understand. And this mercy is the glories of the Lord. When the glories, they are spread, then the effect is happening, and gradually people will be able to change. So, right now, we participate in this mission. This is the mission of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by studying the scriptures, we become conscious. For example, I will give you the case of a person that distributes prasada with consciousness and without consciousness. When you offer to Radha and Krishna, it's not different from them. So when you give Radha and Krishna, you can have feelings of understanding what you're doing, and you distribute that as something that is very simple. But once you understand what you're doing, then you see directly the result that appears in the person in front of you, and the result that appears within you also. So when we distribute things with whatever consciousness, we don't realize what's happening. For example, I'll give you the example of Krishna's kitchen. It is not different from Srimati Radharani's kitchen in the Transcendental, because nobody can cook for Krishna except Radharani. Of course, Yashoda, she cooks also. Rouen cooks a little bit, but it's Radharani. When Krishna is on the altar, it's the kitchen of Radharani. You have two possibilities. Either you understand nothing, either you are an assistant. And if you're an assistant, then you feel your spiritual form, your feeling, and you hear directly within yourself what you need to put, how you must turn, and you feel that we turn for yourself. We turn for you the spoon in the pot. It's so powerful. But what's happening? What makes it that we can feel or feel nothing? Is surrender and the desire. When we want to participate to Krishna's pastimes, Krishna engages us. But when we want to be the controller, then it is not possible. And still Krishna is so merciful, because he's not even supposed to accept our offering. Because you pass on top of all the codes. He's not even supposed to accept your offering. But because there are Vaishnavas, he accepts it. Because Vaishnavas will eat, so he accepts it. Otherwise, he's not supposed to accept. Don't think that Krishna is obliged to accept your offering. He does it because his devotees are there. And he protects his devotees. Actually, if a cook is qualified and is at that level of consciousness, it becomes inconceivable, the food. When you eat it, you're transported in Golok Vrindavan directly. This is the result of a cook that is conscious of what he or she is doing. And Mahaprabhu himself, he explained that the one who offers such meals with this consciousness, then he attains prem. And he gives prem. It's very powerful. Really, really powerful. In the same way, if we look, the deities, they let us dress them. But if we look how Radharani is dressed, how Krishna is dressed, we will hide ourselves. We cannot do anything with the qualities that we have, with the artistic taste that we have. We think the deities are dressed, but there they wouldn't let us dress them. We will even receive a sauce by the manjaris. It will not be possible. That is why we must understand the mercy in which we are, by the grace of Prabhupada. We have zero qualification. Even sometimes we become angry because we are given service, and they keep us still. Can you believe it? They keep us here. They keep us here, even. With chains of love. We cannot even go away. We may even make plans to go away, but we can't. There's so much mercy. We don't stay on our own. That's false. That's false. Because we have to be advanced spiritually. We have to be in spontaneous devotion. As long as we're not in spontaneous devotion, we don't stay on our own. That's false. It is out of mercy that we don't understand that we're staying. That is not possible at our level to be able to stay. Because our desire is somewhere else. But they close their eyes. All the time. They forgive. The only thing they don't forgive is the offenses to the Vaishnavas. But they forgive everything otherwise. But we don't understand anything. Nothing. It's terrible, this situation. And that's why we are blocked. And we don't progress. Because we're not able to see what's happening. And this is the trap. Because as soon as we see, we become a servant and we surrender. And there's sacrifice. But as soon as we understand what Krishna does for us, there's sacrifice. But before, no. We only complain. It's like this, it's like that, I can't stand this anymore. All the time, all the time. That's why it takes time. With this mentality, we cannot go back to Krishna. It's not possible. But they're even much more merciful. It's that if a Vaishnava loves you, they can even bring you back, even with this mentality. Because when you take birth in the womb of a gopi in Bhoma Vrindavan, the universe where Krishna performs his pastimes, then all of your qualification will come because you're fed directly by a Brajvasi. That's why we have to try to understand what we are doing. It's really important. And not be like children, like that never satisfied, never capricious, always complaining. No. We just need one day to put a little bit of consciousness in what we do and accept that the teachings of the Vaishnavas are real, to be able to have gradually an experience. The altar is so special. The kitchen is so special. Prasadam distribution is so special. The books, everything is special. Our life is so wonderful. Everybody in this world goes to hell. They only do sin, commit sin. They do everything against current. Whatever happens, we will have a next birth that is wonderful. Even if in this life we don't want. Even if in this life we don't want. We fight to not have the mercy. And even if someone stops, even if someone sins, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that he doesn't even take the reactions of his activities. He takes birth as a Vaishnava. Can you believe it? This is the only path that gives this. Because when you address yourself to the Lord and you tell Him that you love Him, then no matter what the person does after, He takes him back or her. We never heard such a thing like that before. It's not heaven.
C'est une position tellement élevée.
It is such an exalted position.
On parlait, par
We
exemple,
were speaking, for example,
des messagers, justement.
about the messengers just before.
Flûte est comme un
The flute
messager.
is like a messenger.
Mais il y a plein
But there are
de
many
pâtres,
cowherd boys,
de manjaris,
manjaris,
des jeunes filles, des jeunes
young girls, young
qui sont
boys
des
who
messagers.
are messengers.
Krishna ou
And Krishna or Radharani,
il déverse en eux
they
leur
pour
sens.
into them their feelings. Can you believe it?
Ça, c'est la position
This is the
dans
position
le monde transcendantal.
in a transcendental world.
Et ça, c'est
And
expérimenté
this is experienced
par les dévots du Seigneur.
by the devotees of the
C'est
Lord.
pas de l'imagination.
It is not imagination.
Quand Krishna
When Krishna
se révèle à l'intérieur
reveals
de vous-même,
himself from within
qu'il
yourself
commence à vous
and he
appeler
starts
par
to
votre
call
nom.
you by your name,
Ok, tu peux distribuer.
you can distribute the flowers to
Et qu'il
others.
commence à vous parler
And he starts to
et à
speak to you
mettre sa tête sur
and
votre épaule
put his head on
et qu'il déverse son amour.
on his shoulder and he pours
C'est
his
une
love.
expérience réelle.
This is a real experience.
C'est beaucoup plus profond
It's
et
much
réel
more
que ce
deep
qu'on
and
dit.
real from what
Parce
we
qu'au moment de la
live.
mort,
Because at the time of
vous
death,
oubliez tout sur
you will
votre
forget
relation.
everything about your relationships, everything.
Votre mari,
Your
vous
husband,
oublierez.
you'll forget
Les
him.
sentiments que vous avez
The
pour
feelings
cette
you had
personne,
for this
vous
person,
oublierez.
you'll forget it.
Vous oublierez tout.
You will forget everything
Parce que c'est temporaire.
because it is temporary.
Mais lorsqu'il y a
But when
l'expérience de
there is the
Krishna,
experience of Krishna,
vous êtes
you
hissé
are
à quelque chose qui est véritable.
elevated towards something that is true.
Vous pouvez
You can
expérimenter
experience
quelque chose de véritable.
something true.
Et ça, c'est l'expérience.
And this is the ultimate experience.
Parce qu'à ce moment-là,
Because at that
vous
moment,
pouvez comprendre.
you can understand your
Et
reality.
c'est tellement merveilleux.
And it is so
Juste un
wonderful.
moment,
Just one
dans le
moment
monde transcendantal,
in a transcendental world.
Krishna apparaît.
Krishna
Et
appears
il vous
and
révèle la
he
vérité.
reveals to you the love that he has for you.
Et là, vous sentez la
And then you
vérité que vous
feel
avez.
the love that you have for
C'est
him.
tellement fusionnel.
It is so fusional.
Vous êtes prêts à
You're
offrir
ready
des millions
to
de
die
vies,
millions of lifetimes every moment for him. And he's ready to die millions of lifetimes for you.
Parce que sans vous,
Because without you,
il peut rien
he
faire.
cannot
Il
do
dépend de
anything.
vous.
He depends upon you.
Imaginez
Imagine such a position.
une fois que vous avez
Once you have tasted this world, how can you look at it?
c'est ça que donne le chant pur.
This is what pure chanting gives.
Et on gâche notre vie
And we spoil our lives for an illusory feeling, for illusory desires. Why? Because we don't understand this reality. We do not have the possibility, as long as we're conditioned, to understand this reality.
Donc l'initiation,
So initiation,
le disciple,
the disciple, at that moment, he makes the vow
d'accepter cette réalité.
to accept this reality.
C'est ça l'initiation.
This is initiation.
Si vous n'avez pas cette
If you do not have this mentality when you get initiated, then the initiation cannot manifest itself fully.
elle se manifeste,
It manifests when this desire is there.
Vous prenez
You
l'initiation
take the initiation
pour devenir un ami de Krishna.
to become Krishna's friend.
C'est très puissant.
It's very powerful.
Mais quand vous leur dites ça, ils
But
dorment.
when you tell them that, they sleep.
Ils sont là,
They're like that. "Well,
tellement d'ignorance.
so much ignorance."
Ils dorment.
They sleep.
Ils font que dormir.
They only sleep.
Comment c'est possible?
How is that possible?
D'entendre de choses aussi
To hear
merveilleuses
such wonderful
et
things
dormir en même
and sleeping at the same time. It's not possible.
temps. Donc il faut changer.
So we must change. It is important.
Jai Shri Radha.